We'll see you boys. It's going to be an interesting one. Chasing smallmouth, chasing largemouth.
You can definitely feel the fall air in the morning today. It's a little cooler. The water temps look like they dropped.
One of the biggest things in this deal is you got to be catching fish all the time. It's a really fun format, really dynamically different than a 5-fish big weight tournament.
No casting till 7 o'clock. You're back at 11.
Classic Bass Champions Tour Championship on Lake Pokegama. Let's get ready to rumble.
Good luck, guys.
He's up more on top. Welcome to the Classic Bass Tournament of Champions in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, on the shores of beautiful Pokegama Lake. We have 24 of the North Country's best bass anglers assembled here today. Someone is going home with a fully rigged Skeeter ZX 190 with a Yamaha outboard valued at over $43,000. What separates the Classic Bass Champions Tour apart from other events is the unique format. It's not about who can catch the 5 biggest bass, it's about who can catch the most pounds of bass in an 8-hour period.
2-2.
It's catch, record, and immediate release. The game has changed. Let's get a Hall of Fame and legendary perspective on this format.
You know, Classic Bass is the perfect format. I mean, I can't think of anything that favors the versatile fisherman. And it's always been my belief that the more versatile you are, you know, the more you can catch fish. And this format really, really helps that, because the power fisherman with just a 5 bass limit, he can maybe flip up 5 big fish. But a bank fisherman could go down with a little jig worm and catch and beat him. But that's still not going to win this format. To win this format, you really have to incorporate a few big fish and plenty of small fish, so you have to have that versatility. That versatility is the key to this whole format, and that's what I love.
That's some great insight from Roland Martin. Remember, he's been here since the inception of the sport. And these guys today, they arrived here at the Classic Bass Championship, the Tournament of Champions, through 4 qualifying events. The first 3 events were invitational, starting on Mille Lacs Lake, where Brian Wood took the crown with 96 pounds of smallmouth, and 5 other anglers got berth into the championship. From there, the second event was on Lake Minnewaska. Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Seth Feider took the top spot with over 93 pounds. And the final invitational qualifying event was held on Gull Lake, where Tad Johnson took top honors with an impressive 87 pounds. The final qualifying event was an open on the Whitefish chain, where Arnold Helgerson took the top spot with 63 pounds. All the events were covered live on Classic Bass, with the results posted in real time via the Classic Bass scoreboard. And the Classic Bass staff joined the anglers on the water to share photos and video on Facebook of what the guys were doing to catch fish. Here's a look at the list of qualifiers with some serious names, including Hall of Famers and touring pros, a Stanley Cup winner, and some of the top competitive bass anglers in the region. Grand Rapids, Minnesota is seated on the shores of Pokegama Lake as anglers from around the region gather here for the championship. One angler calls his place home. Here's some insight on the fishery from Andy Walls.
Pokegama Lake here in Grand Rapids, Minnesota is one of my favorite lakes in the state. It's 6,700 acres, just under 7,000, a pretty big lake, a super diverse fishery. We have really clear water and every pretty much fish species present. Northern pike, muskies, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, sunfish, lake trout, walleyes. It literally is good for everything, and it offers a ton of different stuff. There's shallow bays, points, covers, flats, weed, rocks, you name it. There's a little bit of everything out here.
4.8, 4 pounds, 8 ounces, confirmed?
Smallmouth, I think, tend to be a little bit larger, but there's not quite as many of them. The largemouth, there should be a whole bunch of them, and guys should be able to catch a few.
Boom! Hook just falls out of them. Hook just falls out of them.
It's a pretty interesting time of year out here on Pokegama. Usually this time of year, the water starts dropping a little bit in temperature, and we start seeing schools of largemouth and smallmouth congregating on the outside edge of the weed lines. This week, it seems like the fish are a little bit earlier than that. They're not quite out there yet, and they're really all over the board. We're finding them up shallow. I'm catching them in 1 foot of water, all the way out to 25 feet of water. So I really don't know how this one's gonna be won, because there's big fish in both spots and still pretty good numbers in both spots. Should be a fun one to watch.
The anglers will certainly have their work cut out for them. When we come back, we'll get some insight on what presentations and patterns will likely take the top spot. Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Skeeter Boats. Welcome back to Classic Bass. Soon we'll be following 24 anglers on Pokegama Lake in Grand Rapids, Minnesota to see who will take home the Skeeter Yamaha top prize. And now, let's head out onto the water to join legendary lure designer Mark Fisher to get his take on what he feels will be the winning presentations.
It's no secret, you know, the basic go-to baits, time and time again, if you're fishing smallmouth, a swim bait, and here's the Storm 360 GT search bait. And that's been a real play, getting up on top of some of these shallower flats. Another bait that's been a go-to for me in the past couple days on a tough bite, when all else fails, just your traditional jig worm. Presence of smallmouth, you gotta have a jerk bait, and here's a Husky jerk. I'm mixing it up with shadow wraps, Husky jerks, and X-Wraps. And of course, as with anything, with warm water yet in our system, an X-Pop, going with the top water bait. This morning I went to a spot that I had some deep smallmouth on, went up there and cracked a 3-pound largemouth. So it's like, both sides of the family tree are biting, it just doesn't matter.
Here are some perspectives from some of the anglers on the Classic Bass Champions Tour format and the strategy it will take to win.
Well, I think it's a really interesting format. It throws a whole new wrinkle into the aspect of bass fishing tournaments.
If you look at how this format works, it's all about numbers. You know, you get a lot of guys that say, oh, I caught a 4-pounder, I caught a 5-pounder. Well, those fish really get deleted if you can get on a school of 2-pounders.
I think largemouth are going to be a lot bigger player than normal just because you can catch them faster, they don't fight as hard, and you can find a giant wad of them. That being said, I've fished both smallmouth and largemouth this week. I plan on fishing both during the tournament.
I'm gonna go fish points, saddles, and just go, go, go. And heaven forbid I have to go for ducks, because if you want to film a comedy hour, follow me when I start doing ducks.
Another twist to the Champions Tour format is the lake will be split into 2 sections and 2 time periods. They get 4 hours to fish in period 1, then break for 1 hour at halftime, and then fish 4 hours in the second period. On top of this, anglers don't know how the lake is split until moments before takeoff.
I'm curious to see how they're going to break the lake up. I've looked at the map a couple different times. I'm like, well, if they go from this point to that point, so you really have to practice the whole lake, and then whatever they give us, they give us.
So you literally have to find schools of fish in all areas of the lake, and you don't know where, how, and we don't know until tournament morning.
You almost have to know what the bite is on both half of the lakes, morning and afternoon, no matter what, just to try and stay in the game here.
I want to say we have a new leader with 23 pounds, 11 ounces there, Chief. You're 11 ounces ahead.
Keep in mind, this is a catch, record, and immediate release format with a live scoreboard.
The live scoreboard is really cool. It's a lot different. It can be your best asset or your worst enemy.
And you currently have a 3-ounce lead.
I try not to let it get into my head at all, but it does. I can't, it gets in everybody's head. I know it does.
Let me refresh the scores here.
Knowing what the other anglers have literally messes with your mind all day long.
It's not just the anglers and officials that have access to the live scoreboard. Classic Bass makes it available to everyone. You can follow the Champions Tour live from anywhere with Classic Bass.
My wife, the last event, she was like, yeah, I was watching the whole time on the thing. And I was like, what? I didn't even tell her that was even going on, you know? So that was pretty cool.
Classic Bass also posts photos and videos from the tournament as it's happening. You find out what the anglers are doing as they're doing it. When we come back, it's takeoff time for the first ever Classic Bass Tournament of Champions. Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Humminbird. Welcome back to Classic Bass. Just moments ago, the anglers learned that the lake will be cut into the north half and the south half. During the first period, they fish the north half, then they get to fish the second half. On top of it all, the weather prediction is up to 30-mile-an-hour gusts today. 2 days ago, we had 85 degrees. In this tournament, you better learn how to adapt and change if you plan on winning this event.
You can definitely feel the fall air in the morning today. It's a little cooler. The water temps look like they dropped. I haven't been out in clouds and wind yet, and that seems to change things on this lake, so we'll see what happens.
I'm going to fish for a boat, and I'm pretty excited about it. Practice has been a little tough for me, so we're going to just try to see if we can fire those schools up this morning. I got smallmouth and largemouth biting, so we're just going to go out, get on those first spots, and let the fish tell us what they want to do today.
If it goes like practice did, I sought out smallies a little bit and largemouth a lot, and surprisingly caught a lot of smallmouth. Whatever's on the end of the line, hopefully get it in the boat.
In the first half, I'm going to really be probably focusing on deeper water. I do have some shallow water fish, some dock fish, and some flats fish that are up on the tops of humps, and we're going to be throwing topwater baits, flipping jigs, and fishing docks. And one of the biggest things in this deal is you got to be catching fish all the time.
Good luck, guys. No casting till 7 o'clock. You're back at 11.
Each angler is accompanied by a boat official provided by the Minnesota Bass Nation. They will weigh, record, and post every legal fish to the live scoreboard. In addition, they enforce the tournament rules and impose the penalties for violations.
It's 6:49. They got about 11 minutes. It's got to be pretty tough to sit here and wait, and knowing that you can catch fish, but you can't cast.
I'm going to start this morning fishing for some smallmouth up on the flats. Yesterday morning I came through right here and I had 3 and 3 casts. The lake's got a lot of fish in it. It's got a lot of bait fish in it. I'm going to throw a lot of minnow baits today, a lot of swim baits. I even got a single hook A-rig that I'm going to throw. Kind of imitates a whole school of minnows coming through, so hopefully the day turns out well.
We're going to start off fishing here with the classic 3/8 ounce black and blue jig.
Throwing a fluke, tungsten nail weight in between the point of the hook and the eye of the hook.
59, Shane.
Okay.
Oh, we're getting close. We'll fire up the A-rig right away this morning. See if we can't get that thing going.
7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock now.
It is 7 o'clock. You can cast.
We literally just started the tournament not 2 minutes ago, and the guys are already catching fish. Right in front of us, we have Austin Felix. He no more than sat down, and he banged the first fish of the tournament. What do you got going here, Austin?
Pretty simple. Throwing a fluke, spinning tackle, 10-pound braid, 10-pound leader. Keeps the action real natural, allows me to bomb it a real long ways and keep it away from these fish that have seen a lot of baits in the last few days.
Austin just nailed another one. He's been fighting this fish for probably 30 seconds. It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. Nice, big smallmouth. Again, the leaderboard is moving fast. We've just got rolling here, and you can see the scoreboard is just starting to click away. It's not going to take these guys long to adapt to the conditions we're faced with today. I think you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of fish brought in today.
There's one. That one's 12. Little guy, we'll take him. We broke the ice.
We just rolled up on James Linder. He's up more on top of the flat. He's flipping big jigs to the thickest clumps of weeds he can find. There's some gigantic largemouth in this system. If he can find them up top, he can climb that scoreboard very, very quickly.
Thing is it seems like their activity level is not really good right now, so it may be shifting gears pretty quickly.
Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Minn Kota. Brad Leiferman's hooked up. He's in the lead. We just pulled up on him and he nailed another bass. And he's throwing a homemade chatterbait. He's up on top. He's fishing inside turns and the tips of the points. Again, it's a largemouth bite, and these fish seem to be getting little flurries. You'll bang 1, 2, 3 of them, and then that area is dead. But right now, there's Brad, and he's catching them. He's got another one. He's hooked up again. A good one, a good one. Every fish matters, every fish counts. It's unbelievable. You get into a little area like this, and you start banging them, and I'm telling you, you can get well quick. He's covering water, and that's the key to this game. He's an expert at it, okay? And when I mean expert, I mean expert. He knows how to work that bait. He knows how to trigger them fish. He's proven it right now. He's fishing heavy clumps of weeds, and as he comes over the top of it, he gives it a little pop. He gets them fish to trigger. That's the key right now.
My setup for this is pretty specific. I throw my chatterbaits with a fiberglass rod, 17-pound Suffolk fluorocarbon line, and a 6:3-to-1 Tatula reel. I've got it down pretty pat. Just had a bite. He just took the back end of the tail off. So you just put her on spot lock and keeps you right here. But you know, that fiberglass rod, it's got a lot of bend to it, and that's really key. So I'm threading my bait on here, come through the middle like that, and then I put a little spot of super glue on it right there. It kind of holds that bait on a little better. Push it up there, and that's it.
I'm telling you, the leaderboard is changing rapidly. Another one climbing right now is Shane Raveling. Let's check in with him.
There's a big one there. Oh, big one. I'm gonna come back in that corner back there. I think it's brown even. Yeah, I think so anyways. I guess that's how you do that, I guess, huh?
3 pounds 10?
Yep.
We just pulled up on our new leader, Jay Carlson. He's tucked in the back of a bay here. A lot of guys are out on the main lake fighting that wind. He's got a protected bay back here, and he's catching them.
I got a cabbage patch out in front of me here on a end of a point on a deep drop. So all this schmilt's been sitting here. You can watch the fish bust on it. I tried throwing jig worms and Nico rig, which is a weighted Senko, and the problem is it'd go down and get stuck. You couldn't get it out, you wouldn't get bit. Put a weightless on, might take a little longer to get down to the bottom, but once it's there, it sits on top of the weeds. It's a very slow, aggravating way to fish, but it's very, very effective. You know, there's not much to it. The ring is a must in my eyes, people. I gotta say it. So, patience. I got schmelt jumping behind me again, so they're here. I got a big pile in front of me right now again, so hopefully I keep these fish going.
I got one.
Came back for it.
Oh yeah, big one. I'm gonna come back there. Yeah. That was bigger than the other one.
5.1 ounce.
Yeah! That's how you do it! Yeah, brother! 5-1! Wow, Shane Raveling just landed a 5-pounder. He's catching fish, and we're learning exactly how he's doing it while we're sitting 10 feet from him. How much better can it get? Shane, tell us what you're doing.
I'm throwing a 4-inch Keitech swim bait on a 3/16 ounce head, and I'm just rigging it, just exposed hook, and I'm just reeling it, just like the smelt swimming through the water. And right here I've caught a 310 and a 5-1, so hopefully we got something going on right here. So
Shane Raveling is, boy, he's really picked up. He's at 1608 now. Jake Carlson is at 1901. Brad Leiferman's at 1813, and you are at 1811 in third place.
I'm a fish out of the lead, you're telling me?
Yep.
I opened up this morning fishing smallmouth, and I fished it for 2-3 hours before they stopped biting. They all pulled off the edge. Made me realize I had to call an audible. I think that one should give me the lead, eh, Chief? 2.5?
2.5.
2.5. The wind and the weather isn't ideal for dock fishing, but I tried it and we're still able to get a few bites. The wacky Senko I'm throwing whenever I can. With the combination of this high wind and that much junk I'm fishing around, I'm afraid to throw it too deep in there because obviously if you break off, you get penalized. So I'd rather just fish this Senko, but if I want to get close to any of that stuff, I pick up the Texas rig because I'm throwing on 25-pound fluoro and I can just wench them out of there. Don't have to worry about breaking off.
Austin mentioned not wanting a penalty. If the anglers break off, they must take a penalty where they cannot cast, retie, or reposition the boat. Remember, there's 2 halves to this event. A lot of the guys we've spoken to are counting on the second half.
This morning's been a little tougher than what we had hoped. Started on some schooling fish that just didn't seem to be happening. Got to run into them here pretty quick though. We're kind of getting behind the time.
You just got to stay positive. That's the whole thing with this game. You can't get down on yourself. We got guys here like Austin Felix.
He ate it.
Who fishes the FLW Tour.
I don't know if that's the same one I found. Or I saw come out or not.
Dean Capra, Shane Raveling.
Yeah, baby! Yeah! He's bigger than the other one!
And the young guys are really coming on strong.
Just fishing the windy shoreline, hoping some fish are moving in. That one seems pretty clean. Doesn't look like he's been messed with this week, so hopefully we can keep bumping into a few of them. This has been the best stretch so far.
As long as I'm in the hunt, you know, that's all you can ask for. And come afternoon, you know, it's a whole nother ball game.
It's the end of period 1. The anglers are making their way back in. Let's take a look at where they stand on the leaderboard. Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Skeeter Boats. Welcome back to Classic Bass Tournament of Champions. The first half is in the books with Austin Felix in the lead, but it's a tight race and they're all fishing different water in period 2, so there's no guarantees.
Just about to start backing out here for the second period. We're on the north end of the lake first half, south end of the lake second half. I personally think the south end of the lake has got more fish. So hopefully we can get onto something. I got a couple of ideas, a couple spots that were holding some. This was definitely my better zone in practice. So, you know, hopefully they're still sitting there. Every place I've checked today that already had fish, they weren't there. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But knowing there's a bunch down here, I think we're gonna get bit. We're gonna put up a much better weight.
Conditions all around are a little tough, so the fishing, we haven't seen quite the weights we expected, but I do think this second half with the sun up, the fish are going to bite a little better, and I think you'll see a lot of shake up in the leaderboard, and we'll see how it goes. The morning was, like I said, it was a fun morning, but there's a bunch of fish to be caught yet.
I had a pretty good morning. I'm sitting in third place. You know, it's kind of where I've been all year in the hunt, and I'm looking forward to getting after him here this second half. I think I'm sitting at about 20 pounds. I think the guy leading's got maybe 22, 23, so it's really close. That's just one fish. I don't know, I got a pretty good strategy. I'm gonna hit a couple deep spots and I'm gonna go dock fishing and see what happens.
First half went good. We are in the lead going into second period. Not gonna change too much. Fishing the south side of the lake this afternoon, so we'll probably be able to get out of the wind a little more, do a little bit more largemouth fishing, but I think we're probably gonna still try to start on some smallmouth. I don't know, I think I'm gonna play it by ear. Throwing a fluke, throwing a Senko, flipping some, throwing a hard jerkbait. You know, that's the thing about this, you always gotta be prepared to change with what they'll give you, because every bass counts, every bite counts. So we're just gonna go out and give her hell.
All right. Andale, andale, yeehaw.
Tell you, I got an old body, but I got a young heart. I woke up at 12:30 this morning thinking we're ready to rock and roll. My heart was pounding on my chest. People think we're crazy. Yeah, we might be a little bit. Here we are in Lunkerville.
There's one. Come on, big bass. What do I got? It's big. Snake. Ah.
First fish of period 2. Good way to start it on the first cast.
The format is really the guy who catches the most weight, so therefore big numbers can be caught right on the bank, and there's a lot of guys that are going to run the shallow water and run the bank, and I knew that going into it. I just opted to spend all my time offshore and basically put all my eggs in that basket. I really wanted to try to find schools of fish that would compete with the guys that are going to the bank. So at this point, if they'll fire like I just activated this school here and caught 4 and 4 casts, if I could do that a few more times, I think I can compete with these guys that are actually running docks and catching big numbers. You never know, those guys are good at doing it and they're catching a lot of fish, so.
2.2. 2.2. Already starting off better than the whole first period.
113.
Release fish, catch and release works. These formats of these tournaments are great. Get them right back in the water for somebody else to catch.
Start of the second period. We've caught up with Andy Walls. He's skyrocketed from mid-pack, but he's covering much more water than the other anglers. I got it on high speed just to keep up with him.
Sticking with this 4-inch worm, just because I know when I throw it in front of one, I'm gonna get bit by it. The biggest difference we have here is we got a nice inside weed line. A lot of this lake has sandgrass on the inside of the weeds. This spot, there's a lot more sand and standing like cabbage and other types of grass up in here. And that's what makes these main lake spots, I think, a little bit better.
That one. There are a couple here.
1 pound, 10 ounces.
Good. I fished the weightless Senko pretty much all morning long. A little tough in the wind. So basically all I'm doing here is a slither rig, tungsten 3/4, a stopper, choke car hook, missile bait. You got it all.
I want to say we have a new leader with 23 pounds, 11 ounces there, Chief.
Well, I'm just gonna keep grinding away. It's all I can do, buddy.
Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Humminbird. Welcome back to Classic Bass Tournament of Champions. It's all about decisions. We're on Matt Peters again. He moved out to deep water and immediately bagged a decent fish. Yet on the other side, Andy Walls is in shallow covering water, flipping docks, catching one here, one there. His numbers are going up, and Matt Peters is trying to catch up by catching bigger fish deeper. Which strategy will win? We will have to wait and find out.
We had a beautiful week here in Grand Rapids for practice, and today the conditions changed quite a bit, and it got real windy and overcast, and a lot of the areas that I was catching largemouth, the grass just really got rolled over by the wind, and it's so pushed over I just couldn't really fish it right. Mark Kortz was here catching a few on the edge, and I just wanted to fish the back grass and threw in there and was able to get a few of them to fire, but I'm throwing a chatterbait. It's just swimming it basically like all the shad and the minnows that are swimming around in this lake. I'm just trying to imitate them, but I'll show you here what I'm using. It's basically, I'm just imitating the rainbow smelt, the perch, all the forage that's swimming in the lake. I'm just kind of trying to imitate that. It's a vibrating jig. Everybody knows it as a chatterbait. It's a 1/2 ounce. Fishing 8-foot grass flats, just throw it out there, let it tick over the top of them. They come up and they just clobber it when they get it. Attaboy, Mark.
Got one. There he goes. It's interesting how once you get a school of fish going like that, all of a sudden the whole area starts on fire. And now the guys out deep are even catching them.
Oh, another giant just chased it to the boat. Them smallmouth just chased it right to the boat. 2 casts in a row, I've had like 3 pounds plus smallmouth chase it to the boat.
It really is turning into a slugfest here. It's unbelievable.
We had all that sun all week, then it got cloudy and just kind of spread the fish out more than I'd like. I think if the sun came out, it would get them really where I want them to be and get them all positioned where I need them to be to catch them.
You know, the deep fish seem to have scattered. They don't seem to be sitting where they were. I think the wind has got them chasing a little bit more in a slight cloud cover. If we had high sun, they'd be sitting on, the clumps of weeds out deep. I'm just targeting shallow areas that have ample cover. There's a lot of flats on this lake that don't have a lot of cover. I'm looking for ones that have a bunch of weeds, wood, rocks, whatever it might be, but just some shallow cover so I can, fish a little bit quicker. I don't have to let my bait sink as far, and I can just go down the bank and cast at the targets.
115.
A decent one. Keep him going. Nice. Getting bigger. We keep going with it here. Appreciate you, dude. We're still here in the second period. We're about 2 hours in. I've got a pattern going right now. The biggest part of the pattern is finding unfished water, but when you find unfished water with some good shallow cover, I'm finding numbers of bass. I'm not getting any real big ones, but lots and lots of 1 to 2 pound fish. Throwing this worm has been my main weapon. Wacky rig worm, number 2 Nico hook. Throwing it everywhere. Hopefully we can keep fishing clean and put a few more in the boat here.
And he's catching another one right now. There's no question he's onto a pattern. He's covering water, he's skipping the docks. And again, we've talked about it so many times. The leaderboard's gonna change. Every fish matters, 12 inches on up. And what he's doing is catching numbers. And can he win it with these smaller fish? We don't know. We'll find out by the end of the period. How can't there be a bass right there? Jiminy crickets. Oh, I took it away from him. It's phenomenal how these guys don't miss a trick. Leiferman was fishing a chatterbait out on top of the flat. He's now on the docks. It's so close that one big fish can make a huge difference and jump somebody to the lead. Brad has had in 2 different tournaments big bass, and we just spoke to him, and he said that he's lost 2 big fish here on the docks. It's coming down to the wire.
We're grinding it out. One here, one there. Saw one real nice one that wanted to bait, and I wouldn't let him have it. I took it away from him. I don't know why I did that, but he showed himself. It looked like about a 3-pounder. Fishing shallow, it's windy, it's conditions for fish to be biting. So we're just gonna keep working shallow, docks, trees, weed line, sharp breaks, and just see how it goes. You just got to keep catching them. They don't have to be big, they just got to be fish. Keeps me in there, so who knows what can happen. We just keep poking around and try to run into a big load of them.
1 pound even.
And my 1-pounders.
Pound at a time.
Well, that's a pound.
Pound at a time.
The scoreboard is tightening up. It's looking like a 3-horse race going into the final stretch. Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Minn Kota. Welcome back to Classic Bass. We continue to follow Brad Leiferman, and he's still catching them off the docks. In the past 3 docks, he's caught 2 more fish.
That's a bass.
As the day's gone on, that shallow water dock bite's kind of gotten pretty good, and it's kept me in the game. I knew that Andy Walls was going to make a run.
1 pound 8.
And anything can happen. You just keep grinding it away. Pound 8.
So I'm kind of going at it with the 1-2 punch here. I'm using a Texas rig that I'm flipping around. Anytime I'm seeing some really heavy cover, I'm running the 1/2 ounce weight just to make sure I'm getting through it and getting all the way to bottom. We are dealing with wind today. I think lighter would be a little bit trickier. I was using 3/8 more in the first, and that was a little bit harder.
2.6.
Getting a little better. And every time I'm getting in an open area, I'm going back to that 4-inch worm, throwing it around docks, weeds, any sort of cover that I feel like I can still work the worm efficiently and have a good chance of getting them out of there.
115.
Agreed. We're in this heavy stuff. You know, I'm running 60-pound braid here, and I'm flipping it in there, and when I get a bite, I just want to be able to make sure I can get them out. I didn't capitalize on every bite the first period, so I kind of re-upped my gear a little bit, went a little bit heavier just to make sure I'm landing the fish and all the opportunities.
2.4.
2.4? Okay. Awesome. Decent one.
Leiferman just caught a giant. Brad just got a penalty after landing that giant fish, so he's got to sit down for 2 minutes and do nothing. Tell me it doesn't drive you crazy.
When you're a bad boy, you get a timeout, and that's what happens when you drop a fish or you touch out on a carpet. But I understand, and I like that because it's about the integrity, and I have appreciation for bass, so I'm okay with that.
We're sitting on a coontail patch that I saw it here in practice, but I didn't catch anything out of it.
2.4.
2.4. Another one on the worm here. When first cast out there, that one ate it. It didn't even sink halfway to bottom, and it took off like there might have been some around. So I threw back in there, and my next cast caught another one, which might have been why it was running so fast, but I just got to make sure there's not a bunch more here.
0.8.
3.5 pounder. Awesome. These weeds look great. The wind's kind of blowing in here a little bit. Definitely could be a school here.
Austin Felix was leading going into the second period, but Andy Walls has been putting up some serious numbers, and Brad Leiferman has been consistently catching quality fish. Both are nipping at his heels.
Just gotta do that about every, what, 5 minutes? I'll have to figure out a way to tow 2 boats home.
That one will do. You know, the biggest difference maker about the Champions Tour and what it really takes is to be able to capitalize on every opportunity. First period, I didn't do so well. Came back, got to sit at the dock for an hour, re-gear everything, sharpen my hooks, make sure I had the right line, and now I'm capitalizing on my bites and moving up the leaderboard.
2.4.
4.
Andy Walls catching him has got me scared. He is the local big one. He's got more ability to jump up the leaderboard than just about anybody else here. And I mean, there isn't a bad fisherman in the group. I'm not sure exactly where I am right now, to be honest with you, but I wish I was catching them a little faster than I am.
211.
211.
Inside weed line stuff is kind of what I'm targeting. A lot of the deeper fish left, the inside ones are still around, and I'm going just where I can see dark patches and light to dark stuff, and that's what I'm targeting. When I see a dock, you know, I know there's shade there, I'll fire at that too, or anything else, lily pads, reeds like this here. Anything getting between me and the bank, near the inside weed line has been my best production today. I'm not getting anything nice, but seem to be catching a fair amount of 1 and 2 pounders.
Drove over here just to fish this one dock. Hopefully, guy's still underneath it. He's still there. He's a big one too. Stay away from that dock. Don't you go over there.
Yeah, buddy. Boom.
And the hook fell out. That's how we do it. 4.2. 4 pounds, 2 ounces. That's a stud largemouth right there. What did I say to you? Came over here just to fish that dock.
There you go.
I found his home address yesterday afternoon. Thing about this deal is, until that clock reads 4 o'clock, you never feel comfortable.
Classic Bass Tournament of Champions is brought to you by Skeeter Boats. Welcome back to Classic Bass Tournament of Champions. We're near the end of the second period, and it's neck and neck between Andy Walls and Austin Felix. One of them is taking home a loaded Skeeter ZX190 with a 150 Yamaha VMAX.
That's what happens when you fish for a boat. This format, it's different. Part of me wants to go out there and try to fish for some of those big fish, knowing it's going to be a little bit slower going, but you'll be better rewarded. But normally doing what we're doing, you catch one just random enormous one.
Andy just added 7 pounds.
Really?
You guys are still in a dead heat.
Okay. Yeah!
310. 310.
Can't make this stuff up. 2 pound 9 ounce with looks like likely at least a 4 ounce addition of a bullhead down in there. We caught this one at just the right time.
Okay, you've got an hour and 5 minutes left to fish, and you currently have a 3 ounce lead.
Whew. Where's Andy? I'll just go run him over. Take us both out of the commission.
1.8. 1 pound.
One even?
1.2. 1.4.
Oh, I slid up to one of the docks I had marked from practice. Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. And I went 1 for 3, lost the 2 of the bigger. Are you kidding me? First 2 were probably close to 2 pounders, and that's a big deal when you lose 4 pounds.
That's tough luck for Austin, but Andy's got bigger problems. He's out of trolling motor juice.
Well, just idling over to another spot here. Ran out of troller juice. So we're kind of playing the wind in our favor, bumping into stuff we want to fish close, kind of drifting out and just going to zigzag our way down here this last little bit as far as we can get. There's only 18 minutes left. I think we need to catch a few more.
Oh, come on, can we make it happen?
210.
210.
You know I had a bass bite in here. 2.3. 1.3. 15 ounces.
That's not it. Oh. Broke me.
The penalty box.
The penalty box, yeah.
I'm gonna get 1 cast. It's 57 right now.
Good to go.
I don't know if you just saw that, but I just flung it in there.
Good. Oh, yes, it is. Get her in here.
Got her.
Yes! And it is 3:59.
That's how you end the day. No trolling motor, resorting to just fishing what you can. Perfect way to end it.
Time.
Well, everything's unofficial at the moment, but
yep.
I think I might have got second. Couple lost fish definitely cost me.
Yeah.
We'll see though.
Yep, we'll see what happens.
Gotta tally him up. Hopefully his Marshall was a little heavy with the finger.
We're back here at the dock. Unofficially, we have Andy Walls in the lead, but Austin Felix made a huge charge at the end. Let's see who's going home with the Skeeter Yamaha at the very first Classic Bass Tournament of Champions.
It was an extremely tight battle this afternoon. Please welcome our champion for 2017, Mr. Andy Walls.
Woo! To finally pull one of these off with this group of anglers is absolutely incredible. I didn't even feel like I deserved to be in this group of guys. All these guys here have fished for so long. I was happy to be here, happy to be a part of it.
Congratulations to Andy Walls and the rest of the Champions Tour anglers. The format of tournament bass fishing has changed with a live scoreboard and social media resource that allows anyone to follow the action live from anywhere and see what the anglers are doing to catch fish as they compete on the Champions Tour. Classic Bass is also a valuable resource for local tournament results, tips, techniques, and news. For more details on the Champions Tour and much, much more, be sure to visit Classic Bass.
It's something special. I'm just so happy to be part of this Classic Bass Champions Tour and to be able to fish these great events.